Welcome to the Rx MasterClass.
Hello and welcome back to the Rx MasterClass, your go-to source for pharmacology education. I'm Dr. M, and today we'll be reviewing the top 200 prescription drugs. We'll be reviewing each of the drug's brand and generic names, its therapeutic class, and its most common therapeutic indication. Now, let's dive right into it. Hello. Lisinopril, also known as Prenavil or Zestril. It is an ACE inhibitor, commonly used for hypertension or heart failure. Levothyroxine, also known as Levoxil, Unithroid, Synthroid, Tyrosint, Levothyroid. It is a hormone supplement, and it is used for hypothyroidism. Norco, also known as hydrocodone with acetaminophen. It is an opioid analgesic, along with a non-opioid analgesic, and it is used for pain. Omeprazole, also known as Prilosec. It is a proton pump inhibitor, and it is used for GERD. Atorvastatin, also known as Lipitor. It is an HMG-CoA reductase inhibitor, and it is used for hyperlipidemia. Gabapentin, also known as Neurontin. It is an anticonvulsant and used for neuropathic pain and seizures. Amlodipine, also known as Norvasc. It is a DHP calcium channel blocker used for hypertension. Metformin, also known as glucophage, Glumetza, Fortamet, and Riomet. It is a biguanide, and it is used for type 2 diabetes. Simvastatin, also known as Zocor. It is an HMG-CoA reductase inhibitor, and is used for hyperlipidemia. Alprazolam, also known as Xanax. It is a benzodiazepine, and it is used for anxiety and seizures. Furosemide, also known as Lasix. It is a loop diuretic used for edema. Losartan, also known as Cozar. It is the angiotensin II receptor blocker, an ARB, and it is used for hypertension and heart failure. Albuterol, also known as Proventilin, ProAir, and Ventolin. It is a short-acting beta-2 agonist, a SABA, and it is used for asthma. Pantoprazole, also known as Protonix. It is a proton pump inhibitor, and it is used for GERD. Potassium chloride, also known as Chlorcon, K-Dur, Micro-K. It is an electrolyte supplement, and it is used for hypokalemia. Hydrochlorothiazide, also known as Microzide. It is a thiazide diuretic, and it is used for hypertension. Meloxicam, also known as Mobic. It is a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory, an NSAID, and it is used for pain. Sertraline, also known as Zoloft. It is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, SSRI, and it is used for depression and anxiety. Metoprolol. There are two versions of this, the tartrate, which is the short-acting, also known as Lopressor, and metoprolol succinate, which is the long-acting, and that is Toprol XL. It is a beta blocker used for angina, heart failure, and ischemic heart failure. Fluticasone, also known as Flovent, Flovent Discus, Arnuity, Armor Air. These all contain fluticasone. It is a corticosteroid and used for asthma and COPD. Tramadol, also known as Ultram. It is a synthetic opioid analgesic, and it is used for pain. Citalopram, also known as Celexa. It is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, SSRI, used for depression and anxiety. Prednisone, also known as Deltazone, is a corticosteroid used for inflammation. Montelukast, also known as Singulair. It inhibits leukotriene D4, and it is used for asthma. Trazodone, also known as Desril. It is an antidepressant/sedative, and it is used for depression and insomnia. Zolpidem, also known as Ambien, Edlor, Intermezzo. It is a Z hypnotic, and it is used for insomnia. Oxycodone, also known as OxyContin, roxicodone. It is an opioid analgesic, and it is used for pain. Duloxetine, also known as Cymbalta, is a serotonin norepinephrine reuptake inhibitor, SNRI, used for depression and neuropathic pain. Carvedilol, also known as Cureg, it is a beta blocker. It is used for heart failure, angina, and ischemic heart disease. Clonazepam, also known as Klonopin, is a benzodiazepine used for anxiety and seizures. Azithromycin, also known as Zithromax, Zmax, is a macrolide antibiotic used for bacterial infections. Amoxicillin, also known as Moxitag, Amoxil, Trimox, it is a penicillin antibiotic and is used for bacterial infections. Escitalopram, also known as Lexapro, it is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, SSRI, used for depression and anxiety. Tamsulosin, also known as Flomax, is an alpha-1 blocker used for benign prostatic hypertrophy, BPH. Lorazepam, also known as Ativan, is a benzodiazepine used for anxiety and seizures. Percocet, also known as oxycodone with acetaminophen, it is an opioid analgesic with a non-opioid analgesic, and it is used for pain. Fluoxetine, also known as Prozac and Seraphim, it is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, SSRI, used for depression and anxiety. Cyclobenzaprine, also known as Flexeril, Amrix, Fexmid, it is a muscle relaxant used for muscle spasms. Pravastatin, also known as Prevacol, it is an HMG-CoA reductase inhibitor used for hyperlipidemia. Clopidogrel, also known as Plavix, it is an antiplatelet used for ischemic heart disease. Bupropion, also known as Wellbutrin, Zyban, it is a norepinephrine dopamine reuptake inhibitor used for depression and smoking cessation. Venlafaxine, also known as Effexor, it is a serotonin norepinephrine reuptake inhibitor, SNRI, used for depression and anxiety. Adderall, also known as amphetamine and dextroamphetamine, it is a CNS stimulant used for ADHD. Atenolol, also known as Tenormin, is a beta blocker used for angina and ischemic heart disease. Zestoretic, which is a combination of lisinopril with hydrochlorothiazide, it is an ACE inhibitor with a thiazide diuretic and is used for hypertension. Ibuprofen, also known as Motrin or Advil, it is a NSAID used for pain. Allopurinol, also known as Xyloprim, it is a xanthine oxidase inhibitor used for gout. Ranitidine, also known as Zantac, it is a histamine 2 blocker used for GERD. Unfortunately, it is no longer available in the US market. Warfarin, also known as Coumadin or Gentilin, it is an anticoagulant used for thromboembolic disorders. Amitriptyline, also known as Elavil, it is a tricyclic antidepressant used for depression and neuropathic pain. Ergocalciferol, also known as Drisdol, it is vitamin D and it is used for vitamin D deficiency. Quetiapine, also known as Seroquel, is an atypical antipsychotic used for schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and depression. Hizar, it is a combination of losartan with hydrochlorothiazide. It is an ARB with a thiazide diuretic used for hypertension. Insulin glargine, also known as Lantus Toujeo Basaglar, it is insulin used for type 1 and type 2 diabetes. Pregabalin, also known as Lyrica, It is an anticonvulsant used for neuropathic pain and seizures. Rosuvastatin, also known as Crestor. It is an HMG-CoA reductase inhibitor used for hyperlipidemia. Tizanidine, also known as Zanaflex. It is a muscle relaxant used for muscle spasms. Paroxetine, also known as Paxil. Paxiva. It is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, SSRI, used for depression and anxiety. Augmentin, which is a combination of amoxicillin and clavulin. It is a penicillin antibiotic with a beta-lactamase inhibitor, and it is used for bacterial infections. Spironolactone, also known as aldactone. It is a potassium-sparing diuretic used for heart failure and edema. Clonidine, also known as Catapres. It is an alpha-2 agonist used for hypertension. Diltiazem, also known as Cardizem, Cartia, Delacor, Dilt XR, Tiazac. Dilacor is taken on an empty stomach. It is a calcium channel blocker used for hypertension. Buspirone, also known as Buspar. It is an anxiolytic used for anxiety. Bactrim, also known as Septra. It is a combination of sulfamethazole and trimethoprim at a 5-to-1 ratio. It is a synthetic antibacterial combination, and it is used for bacterial infections. Diclofenac, also known as Voltaren gel. It is an NSAID used for osteoarthritis. Fentanyl, also known as Duragesic. It is an opioid analgesic used for pain. Glipizide, also known as Glucotrol. It is a sulfonylurea used for type 2 diabetes. Methylphenidate, also known as Ritalin, Methylin, Metadate, and Concerta. It is an CNS stimulant used for ADHD. Cephalexin, also known as Keflex. It is a cephalosporin antibiotic used for bacterial infections. Esomeprazole, also known as Nexium, is a proton pump inhibitor used for GERD. Morphine, also known as Amiscontin, Cadian, Duramorph. It is an opioid analgesic and is used for pain. Ciprofloxacin, also known as Cipro Proquin XR. It is a fluoroquinolone antibiotic and is used for bacterial infections. Doxycycline, also known as fibromycin. It is a tetracycline antibiotic and is used for bacterial infections. Topiramate, also known as Topamax. Trokendi. It is an anticonvulsant used for seizures and migraine prevention. Ondansetron, also known as Zofran, is a serotonin blocker and is used to treat nausea and vomiting. Lisdexamfetamine, also known as Vyvanse, is a CNS stimulant used for ADHD. Advair and Wixela. It is a combination of salmeterol and fluticasone. It is a corticosteroid with a long-acting beta-2 agonist, a LABA, and is used to treat asthma and COPD. Imdur, also known as isosorbide mononitrate. It is a vasodilator and is used to treat angina. Baclofen, also known as Leorizol. It is a muscle relaxant used to treat muscle spasms. Mirtazapine, also known as Remeron. It is an antidepressant used to treat depression. Fluconazole, also known as diflucan, is a synthetic triazole antifungal used to treat fungal infections. Lamotrigine, also known as Lamictal. It is an anticonvulsant and is used to treat seizures, and it is a mood stabilizer. Sitagliptin, also known as Januvia. It is a DPP-4 inhibitor used to treat type 2 diabetes. Diazepam, also known as Valium. It is a benzodiazepine used to treat anxiety and seizures. Aripiprazole, also known as Abilify. It is a atypical antipsychotic used to treat schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and depression. Naproxen, also known as naproxen and Aleve. It is an NSAID used to treat pain. Glimepiride, also known as Amaryl. It is a sulfonylurea used to treat type 2 diabetes. Propranolol, also known as Inderal and Inoprin. It is a beta blocker used to treat angina, ischemic heart disease, and migraine prevention. Celecoxib, also known as Celebrex. It is a COX-2 selective NSAID used to treat pain. Donepezil, also known as Aricept. It is an acetylcholinesterase inhibitor used to treat dementia. Fenofibrate, also known as Tricor. It is a fibrate used to treat hyperlipidemia. Devoprox, also known as Depakote. It is an anticonvulsant used to treat seizures, used as a mood stabilizer and migraine prevention. Symbicort, a combination of budesonide and formoterol, is a corticosteroid with a long-acting beta-2 agonist. It is used to treat asthma and COPD. Oxybutynin, also known as ditropin, it is an antimuscarinic used to treat urinary incontinence. Levofloxacin, also known as Levaquin, it is a fluoroquinolone antibiotic used to treat bacterial infections. Estradiol, also known as Vivadat, Alora, Climera, Femring, and Estring. It is estrogen used to treat menopause and used as a hormone replacement therapy. Folic acid, which is a vitamin supplement used for folic acid deficiency. Risperidone, also known as Risperidal, is a atypical antipsychotic used to treat schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. Latanoprost, also known as Zolatin, it is a prostaglandin analog used to treat open-angled glaucoma. Septinir, also known as Omnicef, is a cephalosporin antibiotic used to treat bacterial infections. Combivent Duoneb, it is ipratropium with albuterol, a combination of an anticholinergic with a beta-2 agonist. It is used to treat COPD. Promethazine, also known as Phenergan, it is a phenothiazine used to treat nausea and vomiting. Famotidine, also known as Pepcid, it is a histamine 2 blocker used to treat GERD. Methylprednisolone, also known as Medrol, it is a corticosteroid used to treat inflammation. Temazepam, also known as Restorol, is a benzodiazepine used to treat insomnia. Hydroxyzine, also known as Atarax and Vistarol, it is an antihistamine used to treat anxiety. Alendronate, also known as Fosamax, is a bisphosphonate used to treat osteoporosis. Sildenafil, also known as Viagra, it is a phosphodiesterase 5 inhibitor used for erectile dysfunction. Benzonatate, also known as Tesalon, it is an antitussive used for cough. Meclizine, also known as Ansivert, it is an antihistamine used for vertigo. Rivaroxaban, also known as Rialto, it is an anticoagulant used for thromboembolic disorders and stroke prevention. Diazide or Maxide, a combination of triamterene with hydrochlorothiazide, is a potassium-sparing diuretic and a thiazide diuretic, and is used to treat hypertension. Ropinirole, also known as Requip, it is a dopamine agonist and is used to treat restless leg syndrome and Parkinson's disease. Lovastatin, also known as Mevacor. It is an HMG-CoA reductase inhibitor used to treat hyperlipidemia. Methadone, which is an opioid analgesic used for pain and opioid use disorder. Apixaban, also known as Eliquis. It is an anticoagulant used to treat thromboembolic disorders and stroke prevention. Tiotropium, also known as Spiriva. It is an anticholinergic used to treat COPD. Insulin aspart, also known as Novolog. It is a rapid-acting insulin used to treat type 1 and type 2 diabetes. Triamcinolone, also known as Kenalog. It is a corticosteroid used to treat dermatitis. Norgestimate and ethylene estradiol, also known as orthocycline, Sprintec, is a combined oral contraceptive used for contraception. Tylenol with codeine, also known as acetaminophen with codeine. It is a non-opioid analgesic with an opioid analgesic and is used to treat pain. Methylcarbamol, also known as Robaxin. It is a muscle relaxant used to treat muscle spasms. Clindamycin, also known as Cleocin. It is an antibiotic used to treat bacterial infections. Finasteride, also known as Proscar, is a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor used to treat BPH. Dicyclomine, also known as Bentyl, it is an anticholinergic used to treat irritable bowel syndrome, IBS. Cyclocobalamin, also known as nasocobol, it is a vitamin used to treat anemia. Dexmethylphenidate, also known as Focalin, is a CNS stimulant used to treat ADHD. Insulin detamir, also known as Levemir, is a long-acting insulin used to treat type 1 and type 2 diabetes. Mupirocin, also known as Bactroban, is a protein synthesis inhibitor used to treat bacterial skin infections. Levetiracetam, also known as Keppra, it is an anticonvulsant used to treat seizures. Valsartan, also known as Diovan, it is an angiotensin II receptor blocker, an ARB, used to treat hypertension and heart failure. Pioglitazone, also known as Actos, it is a thiazolidinediones, and it is used for type 2 diabetes. Ezetimibe, also known as Zetia, it is a cholesterol absorption inhibitor, decreases LDL, and is used to treat hyperlipidemia. Nitrofurantoin, also known as Macrobid and Macrodantin, it is an antibiotic used to treat urinary tract infections. Sumatriptan, also known as Imitrex, is a serotonin agonist used for migraine headaches. Gimpribrazole, also known as Lopid, it is an anti-hyperlipidemic used to treat hyperlipidemia. Chlorthalidone, also known as Hygrotun, it is a thiazide-like diuretic used to treat hypertension. Guanifacine, also known as Intuniv, is an alpha-2A agonist used to treat ADHD. Sucralfate, also known as Carafate, is an anti-ulcer agent used to treat duodenal ulcers. Valaciclovir, also known as Valtrex, it is an antiviral used to treat viral infections. Digoxin, also known as Vanoxin Digitec, it is a cardiac glycoside used to treat atrial fibrillation and heart failure. Diovan HCT, also known as valsartan with hydrochlorothiazide. It is an ARB with a thiazide diuretic and is used to treat hypertension. Metoclopramide, also known as Reglan, is a dopamine antagonist and is used to treat nausea and vomiting. Memantine, also known as Namenda, it is an NMDA receptor antagonist and is used to treat dementia. Codeine with guanifacin, also known as Mytussin or Robitussin AC. It is an antitussive with an expectorant and is used to treat cough. Lansoprazole, also known as Prevacid. It is a proton pump inhibitor used to treat GERD. Norgestimate with ethanoestradiol. This is the triphasic, also known as orthotricycline, trisprintic, or Trinesa, is a combined oral contraceptive used for contraception. Sinemet, a combination of carbidopa and levodopa. It is a decarboxylase inhibitor and a dopamine precursor and is used to treat Parkinson's disease. Nystatin, also known as Nystop, it is an antifungal used to treat fungal infections. Olanzapine, also known as Zyprexa enzitis, is an atypical antipsychotic used to treat schizophrenia. Enalapril, also known as Vasotec, it is an ACE inhibitor used to treat hypertension and heart failure. Verapamil, also known as Isoptin, Colin, Verilin, it is a calcium channel blocker and is used to treat hypertension. Hydromorphine, also known as diluted, is an opioid analgesic and is used to treat pain. Norethindrone ethanol estradiol, also known as Loestrin, Mycogestin, and Junol, is a combination oral contraceptive used for contraception. Pramipexole, also known as Mirapex, it is a dopamine agonist and is used to treat restless leg syndrome and Parkinson's disease. Insulin Lispro, also known as Humalog, is a rapid-acting insulin used to treat type 1 and type 2 diabetes. Insulin Lispro, also known as Humalog, is a rapid-acting insulin used to treat type 1 and type 2 diabetes. Amiodarone, also known as Coridarone or Pacerone, it is an antiarrhythmic used to treat arrhythmias. Thyroid, also known as Armour Thyroid, is a hormone supplement used to treat hypothyroidism. Nitroglycerin, also known as Nitrostat or NitroQuick, it is a vasodilator used to treat angina. Butalbital, APAP, and caffeine is a combination called Fioricet. It is a barbiturate with a non-opioid analgesic and caffeine and is used to treat headaches. Briolepta, which is a combination of bilanterol and fluticasone, is a corticosteroid with a long-acting beta-2 agonist, LABA, is used to treat asthma and COPD. Minocycline, also known as Minocin, it is a tetracycline antibiotic used to treat acne. Lotril, which is a combination of amlodipine with benazepril, it is a calcium channel blocker with an ACE inhibitor and is used to treat hypertension. Phentermine, also known as Adipex P. It is an appetite suppressant used for weight loss. Promethazine with codeine, also known as Phenergan with codeine. It is a phenothiazine with an antitussive used to treat cough. Benazepril, also known as Lotensin, it is an ACE inhibitor used to treat hypertension and heart failure. Fluticasone, also known as Flonase, it is a corticosteroid used to treat seasonal allergies. Hydralazine, also known as Eprazoline, is a vasodilator used to treat hypertension. Oseltamivir, also known as Tamiflu, it is an antiviral used to treat influenza. Aciclovir, also known as Zovirax, it's an antiviral used to treat viral infections. Hydroxychloroquine, also known as Plaquenil, it is a disease-modifying anti-rheumatic drug, DMARD, and it is used to treat rheumatoid arthritis. Metronidazole, also known as Flagyl, it is an antibacterial used to treat bacterial infections and parasitic infections. Cariprazole, also known as Soma, it is a muscle relaxant used to treat muscle spasms. Lithium, also known as Lithonate, Lithotabs, Lithobid, it is a mood stabilizer used to treat bipolar disorder. Phenytoin, also known as Dilantin, it is an anticonvulsant used to treat seizures. Carbamazepine, also known as Tegretol, Carbatrol, Equatrol, it is an anticonvulsant used to treat seizures and is a mood stabilizer. Promethazine with dextromethorphan, Phenergan DM, it is a phenothiazine /antitussive used to treat cough. Desvenlafaxine, also known as Pristiq, is a serotonin norepinephrine reuptake inhibitor, SNRI, used to treat depression. Estrogens, also known as Premarin, it is a hormone supplement used to treat menopause and for hormone replacement therapy. Methotrexate, also known as Trexol, is a disease-modifying anti-rheumatic drug, DMARD, used to treat rheumatoid arthritis. Mirabegron, also known as Mybittriq, is a beta-3 agonist used to treat overactive bladder. Atomoxetine, also known as Strattera, it is a CNS stimulant used to treat ADHD. Benztropine, also known as Cogentin, it is an anticholinergic used to treat Parkinson's disease. Oxymorphone, also known as Opana, it is an opioid analgesic used to treat pain. Doxazocin, also known as Cardura, it is an alpha blocker used to treat BPH. Tolterodone, also known as Detrol, it is an antimuscarinic used to treat overactive bladder. Sulfanescin, also known as Visicare, it is an antimuscarinic used to treat overactive bladder. Canagliflozin, also known as Invokana, it is a sodium glucose cotransporter 2, SGLT2 inhibitor, used to treat type 2 diabetes. Nifedipine, also known as Procardia, Adalet CC, is a calcium channel blocker used to treat hypertension. Tadalafil, also known as Cialis, is a phosphodiesterase 5 inhibitor used to treat erectile dysfunction. Indomethacin, also known as Indocin. It is an NSAID used to treat pain. Esopiclone, also known as Lunesta. It is a hypnotic used to treat insomnia. Liraglutide, also known as Victoza and Saxenda. It is a GLP-1 inhibitor used to treat type 2 diabetes. Varenicline, also known as Chantix. It is a partial nicotine agonist used to treat smoking cessation. Lorazepam, also known as Latuda. It is a atypical antipsychotic used to treat schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. Nortriptyline, also known as Pamelor. It is a tricyclic antidepressant used to treat neuropathic pain. Prednisolone, also known as Predforte, Predmild, Omnipred. It is a corticosteroid used to treat eye inflammation.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more.